Good evening and welcome. It's Friday, it's 8 o'clock, and that means it's time for Buster's Virtual Jazz Club. I hope you had a good week and enjoying a bit of the blustery weather we got out there. So I'd like to start by saying thank you to all my regular patrons and all my everybody that makes a donation on PayPal. It really means a lot, and it's been an enormous help this year. And thank you for the lovely little messages that you send me. I do appreciate those too, and all the feedback I get about the show. Don't forget we've got some merchandise now as well. So I may or may not do some product placement. Oh, here we go. It's my hat. So if you like my hat, if you like a nice, we've got baseball caps and mugs and all sorts. So do check those out. And don't forget to visit my website, which is the link is here below, where you can watch all of the past shows and see who's on my list for up and coming guests for the shows that are coming up. So on to tonight's show. My guest this evening has been a professional musician for over 30 years. He has worked with such diverse artists as Michel Legrand, Everything But the Girl, Van Morrison, Georgie Fame, Sir Willard White, US3, Sting, Charlie Watts, Benny Golson, Bill Bruford, Jackie Dankworth, Bob Dara, Marie Wilson, Eddie Izzard, the Mingus Big Band, the Peter King Quartet, John Martin, Diane Reeves, Guy Barker, Claire Martin, Eartha Kitt, and he played a major part in the rise of Jamie Cullum, with whom he worked exclusively from 2000 to 2007, touring all over the world, which we're going to see some of in a bit. He's appeared on over 100 recordings and has toured the world many times. He's performed in West End stage show Lenny, directed by Sir Peter Hall, and featured in a Hollywood movie, The Talented Mr. Ripley. He has recorded 10 CDs as band leader and arranged and composed music for countless others. In the last 10 years, he's turned his attention to music production work, as well as producing albums for Jackie Dankworth, Jamie Cullum, Josh Carl, and Santu, and his Soul Patrol. He has composed music for a series of library recordings for the legendary KPN label. He's also the producer of the highly regarded series of session band apps for iPhone and iPad. Currently there are 8 apps available on the iTunes store, so we're going to see more about that later. He's Professor of Jazz Bass at the Guildhall School of Music and is Head of Bass Department at the London School of Contemporary Music. And I'm pleased to say he's here with us now, live on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the very wonderful Mr. Geoff Gascoyne. Hello, mate. How are you doing?
Hello. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for joining us.
That's quite an old CV.
Yeah, I realised. Yeah, that's probably a few more things since then, isn't there?
A few other things. Yeah, the apps. There's a few more of those, and bits and bobs. A few more albums here and there, but.
Well, I know you.
Does it? He's counting.
Well, you keep yourself very busy. Your output is incredible, and not only just the volume, but the quality of it as well. But we'll get to that. So, but thanks for giving up your time and sharing your evening with us and your music. I'm looking forward to playing some tracks. What we generally start with is how you've been this very strange year we've had. There's obviously no gigs going on, but I know you're not someone to sit idle. I know you like to keep yourself very busy, and you've been doing some very interesting things across the internet. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit about some of those.
Well, when it's happened a year ago, it was very weird at first, and it felt like the whole business had reset. It's like, all right, no one's got any work here. So, okay, what can I do? So the first thing I did is I made an app, made another 2 apps.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, I make these session band apps, which are audio loops. And I get the musicians to play thousands of loops, and then the software kind of stitches it all together and it makes play-alongs. So
and they're amazing. It's amazing because it's such a different thing to the normal kind of MIDI tracks, isn't it? Play along, because you've got what you've got is real audio and you get all the best musicians on it, and so
So that's what I did. So the first person I called Jason Rebello and Jeremy Stacey and Patrick Lahar, and we made Jazz Volume 4. So that took a couple of months because the toing and froing of because everything was remote. Everyone's got their studios. Everyone's and also a lot of people are kind of getting their home chops together. Jeremy Stacey, for example, is a great example. He's one who's always done loads of recording, but he didn't have a home setup. So he said, all right, give me a week and I'll set some mics up and I'll see what I can come up with,
Yeah,
So he, and
I've still doing it. A year has gone by and I'm still twiddling about trying to get things to. So I still hate my setup. It sounds terrible to me, but people say it's an art form.
How important they realise how important it is now,
And it takes time. You've got to spend time sitting there fiddling about with it, haven't you?
But thankfully, it's something I've invested time in for the last 15 or so years. So I've got a good setup here, and I always mix my own product, my own albums, and do my own artwork and all the stuff here. So
you were ahead of the curve with that, like already.
Yeah,
it's old hat to you, yeah. And so you're very much in demand as a bass player as well. I know you're a real polymath of all the things you do, and it's incredible your output. But you're playing, so I thought we'd just start talking about your playing. And one project you've been working with is Sarah Mackenzie, who's a real kind of big international star, up and coming star. And you've done a remote few sessions with her, haven't you? I know.
Well, she was one of the first people that wanted to do a remote session. So I've done about 5 or so remote sessions with her. Mm-hmm. I think at first it was just a duo, and then it got more adventurous as the year went on. I think the one that you're going to play features Ulf Wakenius from Scandinavia. He's a great guitarist who played with Oscar Peterson.
Oscar Peterson, that's right.
Yeah. So, but the thing about these remote sessions is I usually go first, so I have to play and imagine what everyone else is going to play on top. So I just play with a click track just by myself.
Yeah,
and then everyone else goes. So
it's not so much fun for you.
Well, it's I have to be dependable and I have to be on time. I have to be with the click.
So when you're doing that, so had you worked with these musicians before, or was this something because they're fantastic players. The drummer Donald Edwards as well.
Donald Edwards, yeah. I've played with Donald Edwards a couple of times. Yeah, right. In Montreux because I've worked with Sarah sort of on and off for a few years. I'm not her regular bass player, but I've done quite a lot with her over the few years, and she works a lot in Europe. So
and for those people that might not be familiar, she's a real kind of star, isn't she? International star now. She kind of didn't she? She won a scholarship to. She won a scholarship to
pianist in the kind of Diana Krall kind of thing. But she writes her own music as well. So.
And as you said, Ulf was played guitar with Oscar Peterson Trio, which is royalty, isn't it? And I have to mention this. I happen to know that he's got a book out. Did you know that he's got a book? Ulf has got a book, and I know that because it's published by my publishers, Fundamental Changes. So if anyone, did you see what I did there? Yeah,
I like the way you did that. That's good.
Yeah. And they're bringing out a new series of my books next week. So there we go. So
what's your book called then?
It's going to be chord tone soloing on rhythm changes. It's a whole series of different instruments. But
we're here to talk about
Amazon, anywhere around the world, as you can with Ulf. So Ulf's book is available on Amazon from Fundamental Changes.
Is our best friend, Amazon, the last year.
They've done well out of me. I know that. Yeah. Jeff's got
the amount of cardboard that is generated. God, I ordered this the other day, right? Because I've got a big session coming up. I ordered a conductor's baton. The box that came in.
Oh, I know.
Can you imagine? It was like
it's terrible. I had a pair of drumsticks that come in a yeah, exactly same thing. I thought it was like a new sofa, and it was a pair of drumsticks. So, look, shall we play a bit of this? And then this, that was what I was going to ask you. So when you're laying this track down for the bass, can you kind of hear in your head, like, because you've worked with these guys, you kind of got a little flavour, you kind of know are you kind of guessing how they're going to be playing over? Are you trying to imagine them playing with you? Is that how you do it? Or do you just...
Not really, I'm just reading the charts that I got sent. I'm just reading it down,
Yeah, right, just laying the foundation.
Yeah, I'm just laying the foundation. Yeah, I'm not overplaying. I'm just walking and playing the hits. And when I say hits, I mean the stabs and the things that go with the drums and the piano and so on. I can't take too many risks because it has to be really kind of nailed down, you know.
Yeah, and it's amazing because no one would know. You know, it just sounds like you're all playing together, and this is the kind of clever thing about it, isn't it? Well, look, let's play a bit of this, and we'll come back and talk about it afterwards. This is a track called "I Fell in Love with You," which is an original composition. She writes her own tunes, right?
Yeah.
It's Sarah Mackenzie on the piano and singing, and it's yourself, Geoff, on the bass, and Ulf Wacken. How do you do that? Wackenius.
No idea.
You sounded a lot more convincing when you said
Wackenius. No idea.
Wackenius. You see all that good work I did plugging his book. Now I've messed his name up. And Donald Edwards on the drums. Let's check this out. So this is a lovely swinging track here from Sarah Mackenzie.
Daylight breaking, I fell in love with you. Somewhere between the silence and music making, I fell in love with you. Well, I didn't see it coming, I didn't have a clue, I didn't hear it humming. Tell me now, what do I do? Somewhere between the jokes, voices laughing, I fell in love with you. Somewhere between the smiles, stolen glances, I fell in love with you. Somewhere between the facts, taking chances, I fell in love with you. But baby, I didn't see it coming, I didn't hear it humming. Tell me now, what do I do? Somewhere between the night, daylight breaking, I fell in love with you. I fell in love with you.
Wonderful, fantastic. Wow, what a great swinging quartet there. Is there any got any sort of plans to tour that band, or are you going to be doing any more work with them? Was it just
we've done a lot. I mean, I've been playing with her for probably 5 years now, on and off. You know, festivals and so on. But she's just, her and her husband. She married and she moved it to LA now. So they're living in Los Angeles at the moment. So I don't know how that's going to affect this touring schedule, but she works a lot in Europe.
Great.
But yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wonderful. Fantastic. Yeah. I didn't know it, so I looked up a bit and saw she won a scholarship to Berkeley, I think, or
Right. Yeah.
and then she got snapped up like as soon as she got out of there, didn't she? By some major kind of labels, I guess, or people whoever do this, and yeah, great, fantastic.
Yeah, so her and her husband Burkhard, they when the lockdown hit, they were in the middle of a tour in Europe, and they got stranded in the UK. So they just moved to LA, but they were stuck in the UK. So they rented a house in Hastings for something like 6 months or something.
That's a culture shock, isn't it? Nothing against Hastings, but yeah, it's not LA, is it? Yeah. Hastings is lovely, actually. I think it's quite a nice little spot. I could think of worse places I could get locked in.
Live in Hastings, actually.
Yeah, there's quite a scene. Leanne's down there, isn't she? And for a start, amongst others. Now, the other thing is, you were telling me about something else. You gave yourself a little lockdown project, didn't you, to learn another instrument?
I did, yes. First thing, I've got a few sort of various instruments hanging around the house. One of them was a ukulele, so I started picking that up, and I kind of got into it. So I thought I'm going to invest in a nice instrument. So I bought this thing, which is a baritone ukulele.
A baritone ukulele, and so exactly what's the? I mean, obviously it looks bigger. Is it an octave down, or what's the?
It's a fifth up from fourth or a fifth up from a regular ukulele, but it's basically the same as the top 4 strings of the guitar. So,
okay, because ukulele has a very weird tuning system, doesn't it?
No, this has a standard guitar tuning. So I think of it as an alto guitar, actually, because it's the same range as an alto saxophone, and an alto voice. It's that kind of mid to, not soprano, it's that chunk in the middle, and it's perfect for playing Charlie Parker solos.
As you do.
So that was my project. I've learned the Charlie Parker solo. It's taken me 5 weeks, but I've learned 3 choruses of Cherokee on it.
Unbelievable. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, fantastic. I saw you put it on YouTube, didn't you? You put that? Yeah, you put the solo up there for a play along as well. That's very handy. Yeah, do you play guitar as well? Is that something you've kind of always done? No, you've never played. So it's just so this was really a new, quite a new, big step.
Very new. Yeah, and I love it. It's a lovely little thing just to sit in an armchair and or sit in the garden and play. It's beautiful. None of this carrying the huge instrument around anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's now you're talking. Yeah. My plan is to do a solo triangle album, because I think it'd be really easy to tour. Like just put it in my pocket and
Woodblocks.
Yeah, that'd be volume 2. Yeah. And what you've done is you've made a video of playing this baritone ukulele.
Yeah.
Is that right? And just so people are aware that it's multi-track. So you've recorded the bass, the regular bass, the double bass. Presumably you did that first.
Well, the reason I love this is I love the sound of nylon string guitar. And one of my favorite ever albums was the Pat Metheny and Charlie Hayden album, Beyond the Missouri Sky.
Right.
Which for me and Trudy was one of our favorite albums. We went to see them play and we sat in front of them, and it was emotional. It's a beautiful album. It's a real game changer, that album. But the sound of the Spanish guitar and the double bass, it's just really kind of evocative, and it reminds me of Metheny and Charlie Hayden. So I kind of just went for a bit of that, and tried to emulate a bit of that,
Well, it's lovely, and this is an original composition of yours as well that you're playing and performing on, and this is called Italian Love Song, and this is just used at home in your home studio, sat in there where you are now. Here we go, Italian Love Song. Let's watch a bit of this, and here we go. Wonderful, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's fantastic, Geoff. That's really lovely. That. I'm sure everybody's enjoying that. Oh, you know what I haven't done? I haven't opened up the chat box, so I must say hello to everyone in the chat. I'll do that in a second. We were just briefly talking there about you've got it tuned up in a different kind of way so that it matches the bass, right? So, but it's in a different key. Is that right? Just explain that, perhaps?
I've tuned it in fourths, just like a bass. But
Right.
it's higher. The lowest note, is a C sharp, F sharp, B, and E.
Right.
So it's quite easy to sort of solo because I can solo and stuff on the electric bass. It's the same kind
For
of
you,
intervals are all the same.
But you changed it. That's not how it comes.
Yeah,
That's
so
like
I do go back to a guitar tuning when I'm playing chords though. So it's one or the other.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, thanks for sharing that. It's fantastic. Well, I wondered if you wouldn't mind. So we've, you as you can see, you certainly keep yourself busy over this time, and but I thought it'd be nice to perhaps fill in a bit of how you got started in music. Do you come from a musical family? I know you went to. Were you at the Guildhall? Is that right? And
No, I went to art school.
Oh, of course, I knew that. Didn't you do? Did you do the postgrad?
No.
No, you never didn't go to musical. Oh, well, there we go. I didn't know.
No, I didn't.
That's right. Well, perhaps you could fill us in a bit about that, and then up to we can talk about your time with Jamie Cullum as well. I was thinking, but like, how did you get started as a musician, and what were your early influences?
Well, I wanted to be a pianist, a concert pianist when I was a kid. So I started when I was 6,
Right.
did all my grades, and got really good. And then, unfortunately, the punk wave happened, and I started playing electric bass, and school groups came along. So I kind of went off the piano a bit. So I was kind of done by the age of 14 or 15 on the piano. But the chops and the stuff that I learned from the piano was really helped, because I read.
Fantastic start. Yeah.
I can sight read, and I still play piano. There was a stint last year in lockdown when I went back and I was playing Mozart and Bach. I got all my old piano books out and just trying to get my technique back,
Brilliant.
So that's how I started, and that was invaluable,
But where did that come from? Are your parents musical, or was that just
no? My granddad was a bit musical, played, in the East End, in pubs, played piano. But that was it. My mum was really encouraging, and she, would sit with me when I practiced every morning. Hello, Mum, if you're watching.
Oh.
So I had the support, and I loved it. But I always wanted to be a musician, But I also wanted to be an artist as well. So when I left school, I decided to go to art school, and I went to St Martin's and did a painting degree.
Wow.
Martin's is in the West End, it's a sort of big art school.
Yeah.
But sort of towards the end of that, I kind of realized that actually I wanted to be a musician after all, and I couldn't do both.
Quite a lot of famous pop stars and stuff went to art school and things like that. It's a whole scene there. There's a very music. It's not one or the other, is it? It's quite. I imagine. Yeah. There's a bit more blurring of the influences perhaps here. I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
So I found I couldn't devote myself 100% to both. So
yeah,
I remember going in and seeing the principal, and the weight was lifted. I thought, this is my career now. I'm going to be a musician. So
you were gigging by this point with playing in bands.
I was playing pop music, and I got my gig with Everything But the Girl and Us Three and all these pop acts, and I started touring, playing electric bass. And then I got into jazz after that, and I started to study a bit, and I bought books and these books, and learnt as I taught myself, and then took up acoustic bass much later, and got into the London jazz scene.
And how did you find that switching? I guess that all that musical training that you had on the piano must have helped a bit as well. But it's quite a different beast, isn't it? The
acoustic bass is physical, and it's a very, very different beast. Yeah, you have to, you've got to play it so much that it's muscle memory. You have to know what that feels like going from interval to interval. With electric bass, you can just.
Because the frets
down on the frets, it's easy, But acoustic bass is a natural, acoustic instrument with no frets. You got to actually work on your intonation. You've got to work on your sound. That takes years and years and years.
Yeah.
The stamina that is involved as well, just to get through a gig, is
Yeah.
You know, it's something that builds up over time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So I got into that much later. In fact, I started on the jazz scene just playing electric bass, and people like Jim Mullen was a huge, you know, influence and supportive, very supportive. I used to step in his band, and you know, and I got known as a jazz electric bass player. And then as I started playing acoustic bass, that I started kind of switching
integrate.
over.
Yeah.
And then so after that, nobody called me for electric bass anymore. You know?
Yeah, it's funny how these things happen, don't they? But I guess there's the acoustic double bass is very synonymous with that kind of small group jazz quartet kind of setting, isn't it? It's like, you know, fish and chips, they kind of work together, don't they? And
It's the sound. You can't emulate that with anything else, you know.
I quite like electric bass in jazz. I've got to say, I've worked with electric bass players quite a bit in various things, and maybe more so in original things. Maybe not the sort of standard straight. I don't know. Actually, I like both. I love the double bass, but the electric bass, it cuts a bit more, doesn't it? I think perhaps on the sound. So certain venues and things, it's a bit easier, isn't it? But
very different time feel as well. When you're playing electric bass, the sound is very instant and very quick.
Yes.
When you're playing a double bass, you've got to play ever so slightly before the beat, just because the sound of making the note ring and getting the front of the note takes a lot more effort, you know.
Wonderful.
So you have to approach the two instruments completely differently.
And now, do you find that when you do that, is it like you switch to a different part of your brain when you pick that one up? It's like I've asked guitarists about this as well, actually, because it's like the acoustic guitar, the electrics are such a different thing, and there's something physical about when they pick that up. It's like there's another. It just automatically loads this kind of other part of the brain. Does that?
True. It's a completely different instrument, and the other one, of course, is the ukulele bass. This one here. Check this one out. This is a ukulele bass, right? So that's exactly half the scale of the double bass. So I've played this on a few of Derek's Latin gigs, actually, because this is beautiful for.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen these before. Now I'm really confused. So what's the difference between that and the other one that you had?
This is a bass. This tuned like a bass, E A D G. This one is tuned. This is higher.
Oh, I see. Of course, yes.
Right. Okay, it's not in tune at the moment. But.
So the ukulele bass it's an octave out, or is it the same pitch?
No, it's the same pitch.
They just make the strings bigger. Is that what they do?
Rubber things, yeah.
Like rubber bands, yeah. I see.
Yeah.
It's because it's got the less length. Oh, crikey! So there's a lot of physics going on here, yeah.
Yeah, but not only that, when you play it, your whole technique goes from this to this.
Of course.
This, it's the same stuff, but it's all kind of tiny.
It's like a clockmaker doing a Swiss watch and then working on Big Ben or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. Now, of course, then you know, one thing that you're particularly known for is the time you spent, of course, with Jamie Cullum, and what an amazing experience that must have been for you at that point. And you had a good run there of I mean, just what an incredible experience touring the world. We've got some pictures we'll see in a bit of you guys flying around in private Cessna jets, playing all over the world. You know, I mean, how many jazz musicians ever can say that? You know, it's incredible.
It was amazing. When we played. Well, I mean, I was with Jamie before it all happened, so I saw it all happen.
Yeah.
In real time. But it was when we did the first Parkinson show, just as 20-something came out.
Yeah.
It was a big Universal, and it just went completely ballistic from there. Up to that point, we'd made a couple of other albums. A couple of other things had happened.
Didn't you do one before that at Derek's studio?
Yeah, so we did Pointless Nostalgic. Yeah,
Pointless Nostalgic. That's it, because you can't. That's quite a rare one to get hold of now, isn't it? And,
yeah. I've got you can't see, but I've got all my gold discs and stuff around there.
Yeah. Well, Jamie Cullum came on our summer school as a very wee young thing and played piano.
That's how I met him, because I was a tutor it was in Guildhall, not Guildhall, Guildford. Somewhere in Guildford, there was a summer school. I was a tutor, and he was a student.
Yeah, I'm sure he did a few.
And played piano in the break, and I just clocked his voice, and I thought, wow, this
Hello.
is something else, you know.
Yeah.
And he reminded me of Harry Connick Jr.,
Of
who
course,
I'm a huge fan. We're both huge fans of. So
yeah.
we kind of hooked up, and I was just about to make one of my many albums, this album, in fact, Songs of the Summer,
Right.
which features Jamie. This is from, what year is this?
Is this one of your library albums? Or
No. This is one of my actual jazz albums.
Jazz album, yeah. Your own project, yeah.
But anyway, I was just about to record that, and I was playing at Ronnie's, and I asked him to come and sit in at Ronnie's. He'd never been to Ronnie's before, and he came in and he sang a tune on here, and that was the start of the trio. And Sebastian de Crom was playing drums with me, with my band. So we kind of formed this trio, and it just went from strength to strength, you know.
Literally, yeah. I mean,
and then we played Michael Parkinson's show 6-7 times, including the very last episode. But we also did festivals around the world. We played at Glastonbury. We played at Fuji Rock in Japan. We did Coachella. We did the David Letterman show. We did Conan O'Brien. We did everything that there was to do, you know.
Amazing.
And the touring was punishing. You know, we were in America for, I think, 2005. We were in America for 40 weeks or something ridiculous. Nearly a whole year just doing America, up and down in in a sleeper bus, and we worked really hard, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it was amazing, you know. It was really great.
Well, look, let's see a bit of that, because we can't not play some of that. And you've there's plenty on YouTube, and I'm sure he gets enough airplay, but I thought we'd play a video. We've got a video here, and this is live at Blenheim Palace.
So this is the DVD that we made. So this is just after 20-something came out. Right. We are showcasing all that music from 20-something, which I did all the arrangements for. And there's horns and strings. I don't think there's strings on this particular track, but it was an amazing night. You know, it was a real special night. And
let's watch it. We'll come back in off a bit of this. So this is Old Devil Moon, which is obviously a great jazz standard, and live at Blenheim Palace. Here we go, folks.
Let's play some swing. You ready? I look at you and suddenly something in your eyes I see so begins to enchain me. It's that old devil moon that you stole from the sky. It's that old devil moon in your you and your glance make this romance too hard to handle. Stars in the night gleaming a light can't hold a candle to your razzle dazzle. You got me flying high and wide on a magic carpet ride full of butterflies inside. I just wanna cry, wanna croon, I wanna laugh like it loon. There's that old devil moon in your eyes. Just when I think I'm free as a dove, oh devil moon deep in your eyes, blinded with love. But do it the I look at you and suddenly something in your eyes I see soon begins to enchain me. something in your eyes I see. Soon begins to enchain me. It's that old devil moon that you stole from the sky. It's that old devil moon in your eyes. A dark glance make this romance too hard to handle. Stars in the night, gleaming in light, can't hold a candle to your razzle dazzle. You got me flying high and wide on a magic carpet ride, full of butterflies inside. I just wanna cry, wanna croon, I wanna laugh like a loon. Is that old devil moon in your eye? Just when I think I'm free as a dove, oh, devil moon deep in your eyes, blind me with
I hope you're enjoying the show. I just want to take a moment to tell you about a new way that you can help support me do this, and that is through patreon.com. That's right, I've got an account now, so the link's below here, patreon.com Buster Birch, and if you go along to there, you can now make donations by Visa credit card, so you don't have to use PayPal if you don't want to do that. And the advantage of Patreon is that once you do it once, it will automatically deduct on a per show basis. So instead of having to fill in the forms every week, if you want to make a regular donation, then that will just automatically deduct straight to your credit card each per show. And that is hugely helpful to me because it means I know that I've got a certain amount coming in every time I do a show, and that really helps me plan ahead and keeps the viable sustainability of the show going. There's two levels of sponsorship. There's my silver and gold membership. All of my Patreon supporters will get a big thank you personally from me live on the show, and the gold member sponsors will get an additional Spotify playlist which will be sent to you each week. It's something that I'm putting together. It's personally curated by me and will feature lots more albums by the guest artists each week. So it's a great opportunity to get to know this music much better. If you're really enjoying the show and you like the little tasters that you're hearing, that's a great way to get to know this music even more and enjoy in full comfort the full sound of the full albums. Thanks very much. Back to the show. Yes, welcome back, and I'm here live. We're live on YouTube now. Well, that is, unless you're watching the recording of this, in which case we're not. But with me live is Geoff Gascoyne, amazing bass player there. With what a ride! And we were just saying about having seen it just literally all unfold in front of your eyes from seeing Jamie at the summer school and. Just going all around the world. Incredible. What an experience.
Yeah, it was good. That's all I can say. It was good.
It was good. It certainly was. I can imagine. Lovely. And I'd just like to say hello to a few people in the chat box. I didn't have it switched on earlier, but now I have, so I can see you all. Welcome to everybody. We've got a lot of people in there. Peter Gore's here. Dave Griffiths. Hello, mate. Laurie and Paul. David Stacey. Nice to see you all the way tuning in from Northern California. Brian Ways here, Esther Bennett, and Steve Clark. Pete Gibbs, hello mate. Sandy Burnett, hi Sandy. Sandy's, I'm enjoying, Sandy's doing a classical music, a kind of lecture series, which I'm very much enjoying, all about Bach's St. Matthew Passion. Very interesting that. And Paul Dinnis says hello as well. Dave Warren on guitar. Yeah, fantastic.
Hi Dave.
Hello. Hi Dave. Must feel like a lorry driver driving a bubble car, he says, going from double bass to ukulele. Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. So, and we have to give a little shout to Ben Castle there for a beautiful tenor saxophone solo on that track. Mm-hmm. Well, let's move on and talk about Trudy, your wife, who's a wonderful jazz singer, and some people may know. I think we'll try and get Trudy on the show one day, and feature her more of her music. But you did a project together, didn't you? Which was really an album, which I think is really interesting. Some lovely music on there, and I thought we could just sort of show a bit from that, play a bit from that. So perhaps you could I mean, maybe you want to tell us about when you met Trudy and how that kind of came about, and maybe a bit about this particular album as well, because it's got a good title. This band, I think. It
does, yeah. Well, no, I met Trudy when she was singing at Ronnie Scott's. I was playing in her trio.
Great.
And I was just about to become divorced, and then we kind of got together just after that, and we started working together. We've made quite a few albums together. We've made 2 children together.
I was going to say, you've had a very fruitful relationship musically and otherwise. You're very happily married with 2 wonderful children, very talented children who are both musicians as well, I know. So.
They're 18 and 16 now. So
are they really? As big as that? Oh, crikey. Yeah. Where does the time go?
I know. Well, my other 2, I've got twin girls that just turned 26.
Oh, gosh. Whoa. Yeah.
Anyway, another story.
Good stuff.
We decided to start writing some tunes together. So we made this album in 2012. And the album's called The Rhythm of Life. And here it is. The Ted and Gladys, we called ourselves.
Ted and Gladys.
Ted and Gladys. The reason we called ourselves that is because it was I'd always title the projects T and G to Trudy and Geoff. Right. And for some reason we called it Ted and Gladys, and it just stuck, and we couldn't think of anything else. So she was Ted and I was Gladys. Inside, I made some alter egos, which I must share with you. There they are.
We were laughing about that. There was an app around, wasn't there, about that time, and it did like a face swap.
With me, look, yeah.
I've got some great shots of that as well. Yeah, and Jimmy and Joe did some. Yeah.
So it was a kind of an original project. We made a few covers of things. The Rhythm of Life is one, but most of it is original music, you know. So we it was a lovely album. It didn't get much play at the time, and we didn't do very much with it, but very proud of it. It's a good album.
It's great. It's lovely music. Who's in the band? Because I didn't get the details of that earlier.
It's Tom Corley piano, Anthony Kerr on vibes,
great.
Matt Hone is on drums, Chris Allard on guitars, and then there's Martin Shaw trumpet and Andy Panay on tenor.
Fantastic, great. Yeah, well, very tidy lineup, very good. And sorry, you said that you 2012.
That was, yeah.
And it's on Jazz Is It Records, which is that Derek's label?
It's Trudy and Derek run it together. Yeah,
Trudy and Derek run it together. Fantastic. Yeah. So you recorded that at Derek's studio, did you?
We did. Yeah. Fantastic. So it was very in-house productions, you know. So Trudy does all the sort of office work for that, you know, and deals with all that. Derek had the studio. I did the artwork, so it was very much in-house, you know.
Yeah, because you do all the artwork for all your albums, don't you?
This is where the art college thing comes in handy. Yeah,
fantastic, and they look great. I mean, they really do.
Yeah, you here? There's this one.
And you and Trudy co-wrote on these projects.
Yeah, we did. So she wrote most of the lyrics, and I wrote most of the music. I think that's pretty much the case.
And I know that something Trudy does a lot as well is a vocalese, doesn't she? She writes lyrics to like jazz solos. So where like maybe there's a great sort of solo that an instrumentalist will play, and then they write the lyrics on top and then
we made a fantastic album probably a couple of years ago now. I've got one here. Paul Desmond music, where Trudy wrote solos, vocalises to all of.
I bet that's great.
It's a really lovely album, and I can't.
Well, we'll have to get. What we'll do is we'll get Trudy on, and we'll do a session
on, and you
on
should
that.
Play some of it because it's really great, really great.
Well, yeah, we will. We'll do that. Well, look, let's play this. So we've picked this track, "Lovely Blue Dress," which is about the lyrics. You'll find out about the song.
It's Trudy's lyric, and it's all about a dress she wore when she was getting into the dating scene, I think.
That's a lucky dress. Lovely
blue dress.
Lovely blue dress, yeah. And what we've got is now you've very kindly provided some pictures, because this is an audio track we're going to play now, and I've made a little slideshow, and this is going to feature some shots that you've sent us from your time on the road, slumming it with Jamie Cullum in the Cessna jet.
Oh no, it's not just that. There's loads of stuff, isn't there?
I'm joking. There's lots of other bits and pieces on there, but there's some fantastic shots of you in America, on Conan, on as you mentioned, all these things, Parkinson. So I think that'll be a nice thing to check out. So we've got the pictures from the Jamie Cullum gig, but we've got the music from Trudy Kerr and Geoff Gascoyne. So let's play that. Here we go. Lovely Blue Dress.
I wore it at 16 to a friend's birthday party. I dressed it up in colored beads to make the dress look arty. The color of the summer sky, strapless and low-cut, I confess, with a little floral daisy print. Ooh, my lovely blue dress. I kissed a boyfriend in it, in fact there may have been a few. They all seemed to like it, and its silky touch too. Not a care in the world, except that it was clean and pressed. I wish that I could find it now. Ooh, my lovely blue dress. I wore it for an interview, my first ever part-time job. I remember how I hitched it up to impress my new boss, Bob. My sister liked to wear it too. It brought her much success. She put all her A grades down to my lovely blue dress. Years have flown by. Fashions have changed, so have I. What to wear, it isn't fair that gravity has taken hold of me. Help me decide on a new look, a new style, something new to slip into. Now where's that dress? I need to look my best. Its demise. All I can remember, it was the perfect size. I'd squeeze my way into it, it hugged my curves with such finesse. People would turn and stare and say, ooh, what a lovely blue dress. Felt like a movie star in it. The color matched my eyes. I danced to ABBA and the Eagles as it rode up around my thighs. Those days were like no other, never to return, I guess. But a part of me will always remember how I felt in my lovely blue dress. How I felt in my lovely blue dress. Where can it be now? Searching everywhere to find that dress, my lovely blue dress, blue dress, lovely blue dress.
Wonderful, yes. Lovely blue dress there. Very great. Lovely. It's a great album, that. And that was a lovely tenor solo there from Andy Panay, who was a guest on my show a few weeks ago. So do go back and check that out. As I said, folks, you can where is it there? You can see all the past shows if you go to that site. So a few nice comments in the chat box there. People enjoying the show. So we're flying through this. This is great. It's great to play your music, and you've produced so much stuff. Of course, we can only do a little small selection. I thought what I'd like to sort of talk about next is your arranging and composing for your library music, which I know is a big part of what you do now, and it's again an astonishing output that you've put, of body of work that you've built up, but also the quality. You really do everything you do, Geoff, is absolutely at the top of the game, and you certainly do things by halves. And so perhaps you could explain to people who aren't aware of how this whole kind of library music thing works, because I'm sure they might have heard some of your tunes, but there's a very specific kind of approach, isn't there, and a sort of like setup with it all.
Well, library music it's been going for since the 50s and 60s pretty much. It was set up to provide music for movies and adverts and incidental music basically, and one of the big companies is called KPM, which is part of EMI, and I work for them. So I got a contact through when I was playing with Jamie. And I started making albums from jazz kind of related albums, but what they want is a particular genre. So say someone comes along and they have a period piece that is set in the 1920s. They want something that sounds like Charleston's or so with banjos, or they want something from the 30s. It might be kind of hot club with strummy guitars. Or they want something from the 40s, sort of dance big bands, or the 50s, cool jazz, bebop, or the 60s, which would be more kind of Latin-y things and sort of jazz rock, or the 70s, which is Herbie Hancock and sort of start smooth jazz and grooves and stuff. So that was my first proposal to them. I said to them, okay, I'm going to do the jazz decades, and I've actually made 6 albums for them. Actually, there's a couple more. I've made a few Christmas albums too, but the jazz decades are done exactly that. So I kind of decide what the music would sound like in those decades and write music that's sort of very evocative,
It's like a history of jazz, basically, isn't
it? History of jazz, exactly. So there's about 15 tunes on each album. And it gets used, it gets used in films and randomly in adverts, and it gets placed in different places all over the world because it's such an established company. It's a really good investment for the future for musicians to do.
But I think what's interesting is so again, people might not realise why would this happen, and I think there's 2 reasons, isn't there? One is of course copyright. So you can't just if a TV show and sometimes this music is like in the background, it's like incidental music, isn't it? It's not always like an advert where it's the theme music. It's like a bit so every little bit of music on the telly, on the radio, on the adverts, everything they see. They can't just go to YouTube and download something and use that because of copyright, right? They're not allowed to do that. So this means that this is essentially, I guess it's royalty free. Is it how that works? There's a lot. It's licensed.
The way they do it's licensed. Yeah, because they license. So they say they want something that sounds like Take 5. They'll go to EMI and they'll find my track. Take live or whatever I called it.
Take 6, yeah. Oh no, that's been done.
So a lot of the time I'll start with the playlist and I say I want something that sounds like Watermelon Man, and then another thing that sounds like I don't know, some bebop or Charleston or something or other. So the people that don't know anything about music, something goes off and they say, "Oh, I recognise that,"
Yeah.
But it's not the original, which would cost thousands and thousands. They'll pay a license for usage.
Right. And so the other thing, apart from the cover art, the other thing is that then it's very easy for these people, these producers who are making the TV shows, just to dial down and go, right, we'll have a bit of that, because they know what they're looking for. So they go to this resource and they can get everything they need. They'll just select the thing.
Well, everything is classed with keywords. So
like a search engine
track. You know all about this. You say, is it relaxed? Is it low key? Is it got sort of some saxophone? Has it got a muted trumpet or whatever it is? So people can narrow down their search and they can decide what they want, and they can go and this is the track that they want, And
of course, the other thing is what they get is very high quality, high res tracks, which they're not going to get if they get the original Charleston. It's got this scratchy old thing. They might want something that's got a bit more clarity if it's meant to be a live thing. But then I suppose sometimes you put a bit of that on, do you, as well, to give it a bit of authenticity?
Sometimes, but also the advantage is that they can get the stems, so they can also download all the original parts, the bass, the drums, the piano, and the guitar and the horns separately, and they can mess around with them to their heart's content.
So they can then remix it and do their own version of what.
And sometimes I've heard some very very dodgy edits, but it all has to fit in the time,
Yes. And so essentially, you produce all this music, and you're the producer, so you don't just play bass on these things. You compose the tunes, and the compositions are written. I guess we would call it in a pastiche style, which is like in the style of. So you're right. You're it's an original composition, but it's very much in the style of. And then you go to great lengths to produce the music to get all the right sound and feeling and everything to have that very kind of sort of specific sound, and you hire all the best musicians in the best recording studios that do the best version of it that you can possibly get.
I do, and it's been amazing because I've been so lucky. I get when I got to the 40s, for example, album, I had a full big band and a full string section. So it's I couldn't have afforded that myself. Yeah. And just to be able to write for this such a big band was such a thrill,
And so the library company, they pay for that, they give the budget for that, and then they invest in that, and then presumably you're on some kind of royalty thing with or whatever it is with the licensing. Yeah. So you're kind of you're investing a lot of time and energy and effort into something, and they don't always get used, do they? So it's a kind of like you say,
the whole library sitting there, and sometimes it may never get used, but. Yeah. It only takes one license, and
as you say, and over time, I guess you develop the more stuff you produce, the chances are the better, aren't they?
Yeah.
It was a great quote I read. It said something about someone said you're very lucky, and he said, well, it's a funny thing, like the harder I work, the luckier I seem to get.
That's good. That's a good quote. That.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? I think that's...
I mean, I have worked hard over the last,
I know you have.
15, 20 years,
Very
pretty
hard.
Much since I stopped working with Jamie, I've been working on this, and composing. And I mean, I always composed anyway for all my own albums. So I was always a composer. But, the studio stuff and the mixing and the mastering and all that stuff, I've really spent a lot of time on it,
Oh, it's a mountain of work. Yeah. Actually, I was going to ask about the composing, but I think perhaps we'll play a bit of this. We'll play this track. So what we've got here, and then we can chat a bit more afterwards. We've got this is kind of like a So this is one of the projects, one of the library projects, and this is particularly. This is great. But I know everyone listening is going to love this. So this particular niche that you're hitting here is big band. Rat Pack, swing, Sinatra, kind of vibe, and you made a whole album with a great singer, Ian McKenzie, who we know, and again I'll maybe get him on the show sometime. And you co-wrote with Ian some of these things. You had a fantastic one of the top London studios with fantastic creme de la creme of the British jazz big band kind of scene to produce this album. And what we've got here is. We've got a promo video of like giving a little sort of demo of the whole project, haven't we? So we're going to hear a few kind of tracks in. But people can hear these tracks, can't they, on Spotify?
They're all there, yeah.
Everything's there. So, and if you're one of my patrons,
or you could buy the album. You could that'd be even better. The Swinging Songbook.
There we
because
go.
inside you've got all the lyrics. Look at that. Look. All the lyrics.
So
Anyway.
if people do want to buy your albums, they can do that from your website, right? Is
Not
that right?
sure.
Or they can find out more about it. And the link is below. I've put Geoff's website in the link below. So do go on look on there. So again, sorry, you wrote the lyrics as well to
the
this.
backstory to this album is that it was commissioned as a library album, and then we licensed it to release it after it was made because it was so good. You know, it was all original tunes that me and Ian, spent a year writing. Actually, 15 original tunes, 13 original tunes, with a full big band and full string orchestra.
Amazing.
Recorded in Angel Studios. It was amazing.
Doesn't get any better than that.
I'm so pleased with it. It's
yeah. And so you licensed it from them to make the album.
We made the album first. That was finished.
Yeah.
That was this was for a different company. This was for Cavendish Music, which is
right.
And then we had a license agreement, and we said we're going to do a small run, which we haven't printed that many. But it was enough just to sell a few on, Never done it live, but I'd like to do it live, obviously, but it'd be too expensive.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe one day. Who knows?
Maybe.
Hopefully. Maybe. See
First
that?
maybe.
That's the name of the track, all right? So, well, actually, we're going to hear this little selection, aren't we? So let's play a bit of this, and then we talk. So the album is the Swinging Songbook. Here we go, folks.
Take me by the hand, dance nighttime into day. When you kiss these lips of mine, you shoot the stars away past the moon, Venus, Mercury, and Mars. I'll say you kissed them into the solar system. We're shooting stars all day.
Who am I?
Who are you?
My name's Geoff Gascoyne,
My name's Ian McKenzie.
and we're here in Angel Studios recording a big band and strings album, which is very exciting.
Very exciting.
Very exciting.
Very.
It's been about 18 months and it's finally coming to fruition. We've taken cues from some of the classic music in the past.
Kind of write something in the style of greats like Sinatra, Nat King Cole, Tony Bennett, and the arrangers like Billy May, Nelson Riddle, Count Basie, big band, that sort of style thing.
We spend a lot of time crafting them, getting the lyrics right, getting the forms right, getting them sounding really like they were back in the 50s.
I dream of you, and that night in Paris we strolled along the boulevard underneath the stars. Our love was new and so exciting, romantic and inviting.
It's a great exercise as a composer and an arranger to work in a particular style, and by imitating someone, then you're picking up the baton, if you like, but you take it somewhere else. I've taken my cues from people like Nelson Riddle and Gordon Jenkins, who work with Nat King Cole, and so they've been the inspiration for this music, because we're basically making a timeless record.
wherever I roam. It's always my home. The streets of gold are calling me. It's London town, a town made for lovers. London town ain't like no other. London town, that's where I wanna be.
Okay.
And we're back. Yes, fantastic. Wow. I mean, you know, there you go, folks. It doesn't get much better than that, does it? So yeah, do visit Geoff's. Go to Geoff's website, and you can see about buying a copy of that album, which would be lovely. Now, the other thing is, you've done some other things with Ian. You've done a Christmas album, haven't you? Along the same kind of situation.
Again, well, this was again a library album that we licensed, but it was the same thing, big band and strings. In a kind of Nelson Riddle style, with all the jingle bells away in the manger, deck the halls.
Oh, there it is. Great.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Well, it's not too early to buy for Christmas.
Christmas album is for life, not just for Christmas.
Yeah, brilliant. And I wanted to ask you about so you arranged all those string parts as well, which is quite a different. I mean, arranging for big band is an art, and that's a lifetime's work. Right now. I don't know how you do it.
I love writing for strings. I really do. And it was something that happened through Jamie Cullum. Actually, the producer suggested that we used a string quartet, and said, "Can I write?" And I said yes, although I'd never written before, you know. And on 20 something, we had a string quartet, and also on that Blenheim Palace, we had the same string quartet. So I got to write for strings for the first time, and I just got hooked, you know, and I was using strings on everything. I put some quartet on a couple of Trudy's albums, you know, on some of my albums, and, you know, I was just obsessed by them. So I got the bug, you know, and I love it. It's such a great sound, you know, great thrill to write for strings.
It is quite something, isn't it? And like, you know, there is a tradition, of course, within jazz. You know, the Parker with strings, Clifford Brown with strings, one of my favourite albums. That, and there's a whole. I mean, people spend their whole lives doing this, Geoff. You know, and it's like you're doing all these things, of which any one of which most people would take a lifetime to do. The producing, just playing the bass to that kind of level.
Charlie Parker, actually, I just rearranged the Charlie Parker with strings, but for a choir. So that was a project that was halfway through before lockdown. So we did one concert in Lincoln Cathedral the year before last, and then we had one booked for May last year, but obviously it was cancelled. But I've got all the music there, so that's another project that I want to get finished.
Is that what you did with Alan Barnes?
Yeah, with Alan Barnes, yeah.
So Alan Barnes was playing the alto part.
He was going to be Charlie Parker, and the choir, the Lincoln Cathedral choir, was singing all of my rearranged version of the Charlie Parker with strings. So they were effectively it's a choir instead of strings.
So you got the four parts of the choir representing the four string parts. Yeah. That's exactly, clever. Yeah.
In fact, it just reminded me. I've got a great video of it that we took. I should have sent you some of that to use because.
Well, send me the link. I'll put it in below. People can check that out. I'll add it in below if you send us that link. But I'm interested in that concept. Is that something? Is that a common thing? Has that been done before? I don't think I've heard of that. Or is that just? Did you have the idea of take the strings and put it on the voice?
Yeah.
Wow, genius. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I've rearranged it obviously because the strings can't hold their breath for 8 bars.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
The singers can't hold their breath like you know, they can't make a note last for 8 bars, can they? Like strings can.
And so once again, you're not doing a transcription. You're actually writing in the style of, like, taking all that, and that in itself is. I mean, you must learn a lot from doing this kind of study, like getting down into the weeds of the music in that way, and that the detail, isn't it? So, well, I always saying this when I'm teaching to the students, it's like the detail that you get from off the record, transcription off the record, as opposed to just a lead sheet out of a real book. You know, it's that there's so much there, isn't there? That's where everything is.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah.
And then, of course, I guess we were just mentioning as well, Clark Terry. because there's something you said in that clip that made me think of it about the imitation thing. And imitation, he used to say, imitation leads to assimilation, which leads to innovation, which I always thought was great.
This is true, yeah. This is what I've learned.
I guess we're talking about the craft of it, isn't it? Learning your craft and spending that time and that effort and that time and that putting that work in.
Well, I try to be moving forward as much as I can. This is why I've kind of adopted the ukulele a bit, and I try to, I want to do projects that I've not done before, and the choir thing is something I've never done before. I mean, my big ambition is to write a musical. That's what I'd like to do.
Fantastic. What was it? Have you got any ideas? What would it be about? Or you're not going to tell us? Or
I don't know
yet.
You've got
a story. You're just thinking
I'd like to collaborate with a writer, and because, I'm great with music and, I'm okay with lyrics, but to have a really good story and would be amazing, I mean, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but that's definitely an ambition of mine.
I've had a couple. I mean, I had Scott Stroman on, who's writing a lot of operas now as well, and then another friend of mine, Howard Moody, we had on, who's written some fantastic operas. And that's the thing with opera. Always strikes me as like the story. It's the story, isn't it? And I guess the musical's the same kind of thing. You've got to have that story to hang it all around. And it's like sometimes these things come out of nowhere. Howard met somebody at a party. Well, it's an incredible story. I won't get to that, but and as soon as he heard this guy's story, he's like, "I'm going to write an opera about that," and he did. And so maybe like you'll just meet someone at a party, and that'll be it. Yeah, I look forward to that. Well, the strings, the jazz with the strings thing is going to be something to look forward to as well. Well, the last before the time's getting on, but we must of course mention. We mentioned it briefly, but I'd like to just talk a little bit more about your session band app that you do. And there's a whole suite of them now. Again, I mean, this is again like another whole, field that many people spend their whole lifetime doing. So you're producing this incredible technology, which is apps which people can use to help them practice jazz and learn to play jazz. And they're essentially backing tracks, but you've done something quite special with them in that they're not static, because quite often the sort of standard model is they're kind of fixed recordings that you could play along with, or you can have the computers with the kind of pretty dodgy sounds on them, and you've managed to sort of kind of get the best of both. So perhaps you could explain to people a little bit about how that kind of works and how much of that you've been working on as well.
Well, this started probably 8-9 years ago now, and it's basically a play along app. I wouldn't say it's for learning music. It's more to play along. So it's a bit like the iReal book, app, and they're available for iPhones and iPads. So it's only on iOS devices, but it's a whole series of thousands and thousands of loops inside this app, and you can string them together to make your own sequences. But so you can do anything in any key basically, and they're very, very flexible. But they're also multi-track, so you can have the drums and the bass and the piano and a solo instrument, and you can mute whichever one you want. So say you're a bass player, you just mute the bass, or you mute the saxophone, you can play along with it. You can change the key, you can change the style. So they were very successful. The first Jazz Volume 1 is still a bestseller. So we followed up with 3 more volumes of jazz, all completely different styles with inside them. And then we've done a country, we've done a rock, we've done a ukulele session band, we've done 2 smooth jazz ones actually. Year before last actually, I went to America to record Chris Standring's session band in Los Angeles.
Amazing.
Which is a kind of a smooth jazz one. And then I went to Memphis to a friend of mine, Kirk Whalum, to record a volume 2 of it's called Soul Jazz Funk. Yeah, that's loads of sort of soul and sort of gospel grooves and shuffles and things like that. With Kirk Whalum playing over the top and Chris Standring playing guitar over the top. So
amazing. So again, like absolutely the creme de la creme. You don't, you're working with and
that was amazing.
Right to the source.
Amazing to do that. To go. I went and stayed with Chris in Los Angeles, recorded a drummer and a guitar and a bass, and did it all out there basically. And then I went to Memphis. I recorded the a British rhythm section, which I did actually separately. I did drums and guitar and everything separately, and then pieced it all together, and then recorded Kirk over the top. I mean, all this stuff takes a lot of organizing, you know, a lot of kind of you have to be really good with your housekeeping. You have to be really good with you know what you're going for, you know, and it's a vision that needs to be really clear, you know, to get the product, as you know, to get the product really, really good, you know. So today I've got 10, I think it's 10 or 11. I've lost count.
Amazing.
There are 11 apps. We've got Jazz Volume 4.
4 is the new one.
2 coming out. Yeah. So Volume 5 will be coming out in the next month, I think.
Well, I've got the first 3 and they're brilliant. And Sandy Burnett says there, he says I'm a happy session band user. Yes.
Oh, and good.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, they are amazing. But I think so. Essentially, but the difference is this is real audio. So you've got the real musicians. You record them all separately, playing like you get the best guys.
We record each chord separately. So in 2 bars.
Well, this is what I'm going to
So
do.
I would sit there and go 8 7, right? 1 2 3 4, and then I go C7, and I stop, and then C augmented, or you know, I go through all the chords. Each one has to be done, and then I have to go D flat, the same thing, and then the same in D.
In all 12 keys.
All 12 keys. So it takes a week to record each one. As you can imagine, there's probably 4,000 or 5,000 loops in each app,
and they're all, and so it's like 1 bar at a time of every 2 bars at a time.
Yeah.
Of everything, drums, bass, everything, all recorded.
Oh, no, drums is different. So drums goes first. All you do, you have a 2-bar drum loop which goes on everything, you know. So it just might,
to set the
you know, that's all.
But
you want
again,
from
this
a
is
drum
real
anyway,
audio. It's not MIDI, is it? It's real.
Oh, no, it's a real person. So I have to mix it and then edit it.
And then
the editing process
I
takes.
can't imagine.
8 weeks to edit each one. You know, it's a lot. You know.
And then what happens is the app can chain them all together to create any combination to play any tune.
So inside the app, you'll dial C major, D minor 7, a bar of G7, 2 bars of whatever you want, and it'll just play it back. You know.
Amazing, like DNA code, and you can just create anything of anything just because you've got.
When this first started, I couldn't quite believe that it would actually work. You know. But it does, you know. It's amazing, you know. And I've got to use all my friends, you know. Loads of great musicians have played on these apps, you know.
Yeah. Well, amazing. Again, you know, like that probably be enough to keep one person busy.
Well, it's the thing is, it's all kind of all these different revenue streams. They all add up to a semi-okay living, you know.
Yeah, as I always like to say, it's not the principle, it's the money. But yeah. And what else do we do with our time, eh?
Well, no one's got any gigs, have they? So
we get bored easily, don't we? I think that's the problem. Yes. So, well, look, Geoff. I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic and amazing chatting to you, and I really appreciate you giving up your time because I know how busy you are, and just to have this time to sit and talk about this stuff with you is great. And so, you know, thank you for coming on the show and sharing everything with us. So, once again, folks, you know, thanks for tuning in. We're going to wrap it up now. We've got one more thing to play. We're going to play out on, but before we say goodbye, I'd just like to say that next week's show we've got Yaz Ahmed, who's an amazing trumpet player, who's taking the world by storm in a crossover jazz kind of world music path that she's carving for herself. A very interesting musician and artist. I'm sure she'll be have a lot of interesting things to say, and some great music next week. As always, do check the website. We've got some artists booked for the next few weeks now, so you'll see what's coming up there. Thank you to everyone for tuning in, and thanks for your comments in the chat box. It's nice to know you're there. And once again, thank you to everyone that donates. And if you have enjoyed the show, do consider a donation. It's very much appreciated at the moment. So what we're going to do, Geoff, we're going to play out on something a bit different. And we were, you know, you've got so much stuff to pick from, but we thought we'd play out on this. It was a bit of fun. This is another one of your library production pieces, but you've made videos for some of these things now as well, and you make all the videos as well, right?
Well, I just mess around, you know, with iMovie. It's nothing fancy, but I wanted to do something for this. This comes from my 1970s library album, because, as I say, I made these 6 decades, you know, from 20s to 70s was the last one, and this particular track was kind of influenced by Herbie Hancock and you know, the 70s kind of disco Herbie Hancock,
jazz, funk, and
funk and vocoder.
Vocoder,
It features me playing the vocoder. Where is my vocoder? Here it is. So I'm playing my vocoder.
Is this the thing you put the pipe in your mouth, or is it no?
No, that's a voice box. No, vocoder. You sing and you play.
It's on a mic.
Your voice. Yeah, and it gives you kind of an alien voice, but it's a very specific sound. It's what Herbie Hancock
made famous.
You know. Basically, the singers that don't have enough confidence to sing, they stick their voice through a vocoder.
So this is you on the vocoder. I didn't realise that.
Singing, yeah. And I thought I went back through some old videos I found on YouTube, you know, of the Soul Train.
Brilliant, yeah.
In the 70s, and I've got all these guys dancing. I quite liked it. So.
Fantastic. Well, it's genius. So, like, brilliant once again. Well, there's we'll play out with this, and we'll leave you with this, folks. This is what's the name of this track? Do you remember?
It's called "Can You Feel It."
Can You Feel It? Of course it is, and this features another one of Geoff's genius masterpieces. Thanks again, folks. Well, it's been great, mate. Thank you once again, Geoff. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I hope to see you soon. I hope we can play again sometime soon, and hopefully this year we'll actually see IRL, as they say. So yeah. Okay, cheers everyone. Take care of yourselves. See you next week. And we're going to leave you with this. Can you feel it?
Can you feel
Thank